So I'm going to welcome everyone to our Cleveland Developers Group. I'm one of the co-leaders, Linda Kane. With me is Orlando, our other co-leader.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining today.
You can always reach us, Twitter, email, through the Trailhead community. We have a few upcoming events for the Cleveland area. If you didn't see my message earlier, Cleveland Give Camp is still going on for this year. It'll be September 10th to the 12th. However, they've now made it virtual given the increase in COVID cases, but you can still sign up if you're interested in helping virtually during Give Camp. I don't have more details yet, but hopefully soon. We're working on planning our next several events for this group. We're looking at doing a virtual event in September, probably around the 18th, that'll be like, we're just calling it September Shorts. So if anyone wants to present something short, they're welcome to do so. I'm going to present something very short, destructive changes, now that I've learned how to do them with VS Code and the CLI. And then, of course, in late September comes Dreamforce. So after Dreamforce, we will do some kind of Dreamforce recap for everybody. And then the other thing we were thinking of, kind of an in-person in mid or late October, where we go for a hike outside in the metro parks. We have plenty of parks around here. It'd be nice to get out a little bit in what will hopefully be a safe way. Of course, that's all up in the air based on any new restrictions that come our way. Today's topic is going to be Calumet, desktop Swiss Army knife for Salesforce. Fabrice Challier is our presenter, all the way from France. Awesome.
Hi.
Just some quick notes. We will be recording or we already are, and we're going to post that on YouTube after I get it all transferred over. Just to help people with bandwidth while Fabrice is talking, if you turn off your camera, that helps. Sorry, Fabrice, I really like to see people's faces.
No, it's okay. Don't worry. That's fine for me.
And we just want to make sure everyone can hear. And
yeah, that's perfect.
Feel free to ask questions in the chat. We will make sure they get asked of Fabrice. Orlando's really good about that. Much better than I am.
No, not at all. But yeah, I always keep a look at it, and feel free also to ask your question out loud.
So with that, I'm going to stop my share, and Fabrice can take over the screen.
Okay. Okay. So today we are talking about Calumet. So Calumet is the name of the tool I've been working on for more than 3 years. So initially, when I started on Salesforce more than 3 years ago, I have two big issues. The first one was how to do deployment easily. When I arrived on the company I'm working with, they were used to work with Excel sheet where everybody was storing the different metadata they were working on in order to remember what they have modified, and then they were doing change set. And I know myself, I know I'm unable to do it properly. I don't have what the rigor it requires to remember what I'm doing on a daily basis. So I just thought, why do I have to do something that I thought Salesforce should be able to do for me? And that's where I initially started my project on Calumet. And it was really not a graphical application at the beginning. It was just a simple command line that was working fine. But my colleagues were starting to use it and say, it's very useful, but could you do it in a graphic manner? So I worked on the subject. And at the end, I was starting Calumet. And that's what I will try to present today. So Calumet is a tool where you can connect to all your organizations. So I'm listing a part of all my organization. You can switch to whatever you want. So here I can store the org I want to connect to. And whenever I want to connect, it's a bit like VS Code. You just choose the org. and in a few seconds, you will be connected to your org and you can do whatever you want. Second point I really wanted was to be able to work with Chrome, and what I really appreciate with Chrome is the ability you have to have multiple profiles. So what I did is whenever you, so I need to do it like this. Whenever you click on one of the icons there, it will open your Salesforce within a specific Chrome that you can set. So for example, Little Shaman is using a specific profile. If I go from my production org, and if I click here, I will use a different profile, and red is the color of my production. So whenever I'm working on the production, there is a, I don't have to ask me any question. Red means production, I have to be careful. Different colors mean it's easier for me to remember where I'm working. So that's what I really appreciate with Chrome. So it was really something I worked right at the beginning when I work on this. So when you create a connection org, you can here you can choose whatever profile you want to use for the org. So you can really choose different Chrome profile for different org. So that's what I really wanted to have when I start. Okay. And for the connection, either you go for login password, or you can OAuth if you don't want to use a login password. Both are working perfectly with the tool. So that was really my first requirement when I work on this. And as I said, the first thing I wanted when I started my project was a way to track whatever I'm doing on my org. So that's why we have an application named the Change Tracker. And the Change Tracker is the one I'm using to, as it said, to track what I'm doing. So for example, if I want to see what I have done since the 1st of April, I just have to say, I want to audit what I have done. By default, it will only track what I have done. So I just click extract. And after I just take around 30 seconds and I will have the result. So I do it in live, so okay. So after 30 seconds, what the tool has done, he has done the calculation, is able to tell me what I have done, all the modification I have done since the date I choose. I can see whatever modification I have done through the profile. So the tool will be able to export the modification done on the profile. And same is able to do the calculation of the layout assignment I have changed. So it will be able to retrieve it for me if I need it. If If I want, I can also say I want to retrieve all modification, not only mine. So I just remove my user. I just say I just untick the box, and it will track everything that has been done on the org, but only me. And where is my file? So if I go back here, I will also, I've got a glitch. So here you can see that there is different people involved. There is Joel Challier, which is my colleague. Salesforce, I've done modification due to, I guess, update of the orgs. So you can really track whatever has been done by whoever has did it. So sometimes we use it a lot in production, not because we want to retrieve what has been done in production, but just to track what has been changed in production and to understand what's happening, because sometimes we have issue in production because end user have changed something without warning us in production. And this is a way we use to track what has been done in production to say, why have you modified your layout without warning us, or whatever, or things like this. So it's really a tool we use on a daily basis, first to retrieve what we want from an org in order for deployment, or also to track what is done in production. Other way you can do it is you have same here, the choose metadata, which is a bit like VS Code. So from here, you have access to all your metadata and you can choose the one you want. So I can say, I want all my metadatas. By default, they are sorted by modification date. And from there, I can I can filter whatever and choose the one I want. Okay, so it's very easy for me to choose the modification I want. I can select them from there and I can push them to my package for retrieval. Okay, so either I add them to the existing package or I can create a new package. And when I'm doing the extraction here, Salesforce, the tool are already prepared for me the package XML here. So here you have your package. Here you have the layout assignment he has to retrieve, and here I have my profile. So it's already done, all is already done for me to work. So from there, I can say I want to retrieve the modification on the profile. I want to retrieve the layout assignment too. I will just remove the profile from here because I don't want to get the profile. So here I don't have anymore the profile. I just do a retrieve. And the tool will just retrieve the metadata I've been changed on my laptop or on my computer. So it's locally saved for the moment. So here it's just telling me I've done the retrieval, and he's just listing whatever he was not able to retrieve during retrieve action. Okay, so that's a warning. It's not blocking, it's just a warning. And in red, what I can see is the elements the tool was not able to retrieve. It's just warning me, you asked me to retrieve this, but it has not been retrieved because I cannot do it. So it's just a warning for me.
Okay.
Project is a way to say I'm working on a specific subject. So I can say I'm working on a demo, Cleveland demo. So it's just a unit of work, let's say. I don't know how to name it properly. So I can say Cleveland demo, it's my unit of work. And now I can save my package within the project, so I can use it later on. So I just say do save, and I just say I want to save Cleveland demo, and it will just back up my metadata in a zip file. So this way I can use it later on if I don't want to do the deployment today.
So Fabrice, the package that will be downloaded, it's actual metadata like objects and layouts and.
Yeah, I can just click on this button and I have access directly to the folder containing everything. So I can check. So I have my package XML, so the one display, and after you will find all the objects you are about to work with. But as it's with package XML, it's not the VS Code way of working, it's the group information, okay? So if I took something like this,
Very cool.
I will have everything inside the metadata. Is it answering your question, Orlando?
Yeah, no, it's very cool.
Yeah, the idea is really the package. After, if I'm using VS Code, which is not the case here because here I don't have the icon blue, but I can create a VS Code package. So I can just click here, and the tool will create my SFDX project and opening VS Code. So from there, I can just say to the tool, I want to push within my VS Code project the package XML, and my VS Code will be filled with all the metadata, so I can work with VS Code if I want to. So it's the way I'm used to work with. So all my information has been pushed here, and here I will find the break, the package break in the way VS Code is doing it. So more granular way. So it's I'm used to do this. If I want many work for classes like in web component, I will push them to VS Code. It's easier for me to manage. So that's really what I'm used to do regarding retrieval. From there, when I'm ready, so I will just remove this. From there, I just remove what I don't have. Just refresh. Oh, it's not working. Oh, just a quick something I will have to fix. Normally it should disappear when it's empty, but okay. So when I'm ready, I'm happy from, I know that is this is the metadata I would like to push on my other environment. What I will just do is I choose where I want to push it. So for the demo, I will just push it back on my org, I don't care. So I just say, I want to prepare the deployment on this org. So it's a preparation because everything will be done on local, not only on your computer. So I will just ask him to open the control tab. So I just say push to, and the metadata are just pushed locally on your computer. Oh, I've got an issue. Got a small bug. And what is unable to do? Yes, I've got a small glitch. Let me. So I will. Okay. So sorry, I've got a small issue I didn't have until now. So I will do it in a different manner. So let's do it. So for example, if I just want to select a few things, so let's say I just want to retrieve 2 permission set, and I will take less things. Okay, I just want to grab this. So if I go, oh, I've got a big deal. So okay, I've done the demo a few hours ago. It was working fine, but life is always not the same. So I will just.
That's how it is with live demos.
Yeah, it's always the same, but at least you can see it's. I'm still fixing a few bugs, but so like this. Okay, let's go back. So if I go back there, so up. So I just choose the few things I would like to retrieve. Okay, so it just push to my package, so I can already choose the one I want, so I can add a few things and add them. So let's redo it. So everything I'm doing here is already done in local. So it means it's just saved on my computer. So from there, I can just push the metadata as I retrieve in order to prepare my deployment. So okay, now it's working. So here I can just do a control. So it will just try to figure out what is different. So it will compare the metadata I have on my laptop, on my computer, with the metadata on the target, and it will just list for me the difference, so I can easily verify that I'm not about to deploy something I don't want to deploy. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's really the idea of this screen. As nothing is normally modified, it would say everything is fine. But okay, but he has found no difference. But if I go on this one, so it's more or less this one is more or less NORG that I use for demo, so it's different from the previous one. So if I just redo a check package, okay, now we have difference. So it's just telling me that what I'm about to deploy is a bit different. So for each object I'm about to deploy, it will just tell me when it was last deployed. So I've got the last modification date. I know who has done the modification. And if I want to see a detail to understand what's happening, I can just double click on any of the items here. And I will open a diff file. So here you can see the difference I'm about to deploy. If I want to see all the file, I just unshrink the file, and I can see the whole file and what is the difference. And if I'm used to work with VS Code and I prefer to see this in VS Code, I just click here, and it will open the diff directly in VS Code, and I can easily read what is the difference. So it's really something we are used to do when we are not 100% sure what we are about to deploy, because somebody else has deployed something. For example, in the next org, I'm seeing that the modification is close to mine, so maybe I need to merge his modification with mine. So normally I'm using this screen in order to know what I have to do. So it's really the purpose of this screen. And when I'm ready for deployment, I go for deploy. From the deployment screen, I will find again my package. So I've got a list of everything I'm about to deploy. I've got a list of the different profile I'm about to deploy, and here we can see something very particular to Calumet. Is whenever I'm working on an org, I'm used to retrieve all the existing profile that I have on the target, And in red is the profile that is not existing on my target. For example, Calumet is just warning me that if I would like to deploy this package, it will not allow me to deploy this profile and this profile, because for him, this profile does not exist on my target. So it doesn't want to deploy something that does not exist. It's just a way we are preventing a user to deploy a profile that he may have created on his sandbox that we don't have on another environment, because we are very used to do some crazy thing like this. So it's just a protection we are using. And from there, I can also say, I don't want to deploy all my profile. I just want to deploy, for example, some profile. So I can just say, I want to deploy only the sales, or only the service, or only custom profile. So, and Salesforce the tool will only deploy the green one. The black one means I could deploy them, but they won't be deployed because I ask him to deploy only the custom. And the red one still means he won't be able to deploy them because he don't know, it's not sure that the profile exists on my target. Okay.
Okay.
And this is easy to do. What you have to do, if I want to create a group of profile, I just have to open this. And here I will find all my profile. And what I have to do is I create just a new folder. I just name my folder. For example, I say a demo Cleveland. And I just copy paste the profile I want to use for this specific group. And if I go back there, I just do a reload and demo Cleveland will appear. And if I say use demo Cleveland, it will use the folder, the profile I've put in my folder. So it's really easy for people working only with specific profile to be sure they will never alter profiles they don't want to alter. So it's something I'm not using, but a few of my colleagues are using them on their projects. Because they are tasked not to touch specific profiles, so they are used to say I don't want to alter some profile I don't have access to. So it's just a way they can protect themselves from this type of error. Test is just a list of the tests I'm about to use for deployment. So he has just detected that in my package I have all these test class. And if I need other test class, I can just come here and add the name of the test class I want to run during deployment, and they will be run in order to get the 75% coverage for all tests deployed, for all class deployed. Okay. And the missing is just warning me that he has discovered that in my package I have this object, but there is no files corresponding to this object. So it's just telling me you should clean your package because I won't be able to deploy this item. I don't have it. Okay, so I can just say clean and it disappeared and it's not anymore in my package. From there, what I can say, I can put a comment regarding the deployment I'm about to do. So I can say deployment for Cleveland group. I can add some post-deploy information. So it means that each time I will use deployment with this project, the tool will open a pop-up that will contain the information I put here. So I can say here, manual action to be done after deployment as a reminder. And here I can list whatever I have to do. So action 1, action 2, and so on. So that's the ID. I just save. And when I will do my deployment, whatever is the environment, as long as I'm using this project, the tool will open this pop-up just to remind me I have some manual action to do after deployment. So it's just in order for us to be sure we don't miss a step during deployment later on, because we are never doing our deployment on all organizations at the same time. So I will deploy on UAT first, then on full, then on production. And I want to be sure I won't forget manual steps. Okay, so that's really the idea of this one. And the last thing I can do is I can use the previous a previous package I have saved. So if I don't want to deploy this one, maybe I want to deploy this one. So I just select this, and it's just displaying me what I'm about to display to deploy if I'm using this zip, or I can keep the one I have and remain on this one. Okay. And when I'm ready to do this, I'm just choosing the option I want. So I know that there is test class. I will have to use this in order to run the deployment and the test. Here, I can choose if I want to open in Salesforce the deployment status page, or if I prefer to have it just inside the console. So both are working fine. So if I just click here, I just have to wait a few seconds, and the deploy status page will be open by default by the tool as soon as the deployment will start. So most of us, so here it comes. So this screen is appearing, and I can follow what's happening during my deployment. So I don't have to go open the deployment status page. It's already open. I can really easily see what's happening. And I know my deployment will fail because I tried, but I can see what's happening, and the issue is just coming from my custom object. Okay, so it's really easy to track what's happening during deployment. From there, you don't have to worry. And at the end of the deployment, it's just warning me when your deployment is finished. If there is no error, you have this action to do. So that's the post view edit post deployment information I have here. Okay. And the last point is the history. So for this one, I will go in production because I don't have history somewhere else. So history is just tracking every deployment that has been done within my org. So it's just a way to follow what's happening. I've got all the deployment done by me, by my team. So I can see everything. And for each deployment, I can see what has been deployed, and I can see why it has been deployed. So it's really easy to try to understand what's happening. You can really follow every deployment that has been done during by your team within your org using the tool. And everything is stored directly in Salesforce. So even if you don't have Calumet, you can go inside your document in Salesforce, and you can find documents that are containing first, it will contain the package XML you have deployed. And second, I'm always deploying a backup of what we are modifying. So if we do a right click, what we can see is we can do a retrieve package. And the package is containing both what I have deployed in the org and what was in the org before I deployed. So it's a way we can do a rollback if there is any issue during a deployment, or if somebody has modified, for example, a layout in production, but I was not aware of his modification, I will find the modification he has done within the backup. So it's something we are used to work with once a month, because we have overwritten something that has been done by someone else on an environment. So we can always backtrack what has been done on any environment from there and merge whatever happened. So we never lose what has been done on the environment, even if we don't have Git or any source control system. So it's just a way to be sure that whatever we do, we can go back in the future. Okay. And if I want to do the rollback, it's still in beta, so that's why there is a beta. I'm still working on it. But the idea is from there, you can retrieve whatever backup you want. So you just come here, you say, I want to retrieve my package. You store it inside a folder. So for example, I can say I want to store it. I can put it here. I don't care. And from there, you just choose the backup file you want. Not yet. I don't remember where I put it. Okay, sorry. The idea is here. You can choose the backup zip file you have, and the tool will do the calculation what you have, what he has to restore. So you will just say restore the previous file, and from there you can say delete the new files I have added because I don't want them anymore during the rollback. Okay, so that's the principle of the deployment process for the tool. Okay, so So after we have some features for developers, because as a developer, I have a lot of requirements. So the first one I wanted, so I will go for this one first. So the first one I wanted was to be able to execute anonymous code and to directly have the debug lines displayed. So if I go here, so for example, what I'm used to do is really simple thing like this one. I just want to run this and see what will happen during trigger thing like this. So I just put here my code. I just do execute. And after a few seconds, I will have only the system debugs that will be shown here. So it's a very easy way for me to have execute code and see only my system debug, which I'm doing on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing I needed was to be able to track where my debug logs are coming from, because sometimes we have thousands of logs of debug and we don't really know where it's coming from. So if I want to know where my debug logs is coming, I just go to detail. And detail will tell me for each debug logs where it's coming from. So it's telling me your system debug is coming from this class. And if I double click on a system debug, I will directly open the class within VS Code on the correct line. Okay, so it's very easy for me to go back on my class to see where the system debug is coming. Or if I have an error, it will bring the error directly within the VS Code on the class at the line where the error is happening. So it's really something I'm using on a daily basis. The other thing I needed was to be able to do this. So when I'm working in production, I'm used to, we have to test, we sometimes have to do some tests in production, but what we don't want to update or record in production. So when we have to do this, we just go here, we just tick the box here, we just execute the code. And what I'm just doing is just a transaction start here, a transaction rollback at the end. So everything is done. So I've got all my log access. But if I just catch the ID here, if I go back on my org here, and if I just put the ID here, it will just say your ID does not exist. Okay, just because I just say test mode, I can test anything I want in production from here, and I know I will never modify any record in production. And it was really something I needed on a daily basis. Other thing I needed was to be able to compare, so I will go in prod for this. I can easily compare the Apex class between two orgs. And it's done in less than a few seconds. I'm not yet able to do it for the whole metadata, but I can easily compare my class between two different environments. And I will have the result in few seconds, and I can say, oh, what's happening? Why this class is not up to date with this one, something like this. So quite easy to do when I need to do this in my for my client. The next thing I needed was to be, we are working a lot with Lighting Web Components, and most of the time what I like to do is to write Lighting Web Component without using the connection to Salesforce. Sorry. So what I need is to be able to create the fake data for my Lighting Web Component. So what I'm using is this simple component. Here I will just say I want to use this method as it was called by my Lighting Web Component, and the tool will just give me what I have to copy within my Lighting Web Component to do a simulation of what would happen if I call the component. So I can really work on the design without to take care about the data coming from Salesforce. So I can work on, I don't have to connect my Lighting Web Component to Salesforce. So that's the point of this, module. And the last one is more or less the same. Here you can say, I want to be able to open a Lighting Web Component within Salesforce. So when you want to open a Lighting Web Component within Salesforce, you cannot say, you cannot go here and say, I want to say, you cannot write something like LW / my name .lwc or whatever, it's not working for Lightning Web Component as we can do it for Aura or Apex. So what I'm used to do is I'm going here, I say I want to use my LWC component if it's the name of my component. Here I will just say, for example, I want to pass a record ID. I can pass a record ID here. And I will just ask the tool to generate for me the URL. And this is what I want to add in my page. So I will just copy paste it here. And then I will be able to open my Lightning Web Component directly in Salesforce if I want to see what's happening for test purpose. So that's the purpose of this simple line. So it's really small tools that I'm using on a daily basis. And the other features I really wanted when I was starting on Salesforce was to have a SQL engine that can really help me on a daily basis. So what I wanted was to be able to write query like something like this. So I just wanted to be able to do a select étoile from case because I don't know the list of fields. So the tool will be able to do it. The tool support the auto completion, so I can say, give me, I want to go, and I say, I can really easily say I want to something like this, and I've got the result. So quite easy to do. So it's really something. Now we can more or less do it with VS Code, the new plugin. But when I started the Calumet, there was no way to do it. So it's really something I wanted to have. And the other thing I really needed, because I use it on a daily basis, was when I'm here, what I like to do is I want to see what is behind a record. So as long as it's an ID, so for example, I have a contact, I can double click on my contact and I will have directly the result of all the data contained inside my record. So I have an overview of the detail of my record, and from there I can search for any specific word I want to see or whatever. So it's a quick way for me to see the content of a record in a different way. So very easy to read. And if it's a formula, I don't have any formula here, but if it's a formula, we'll have here the formula used by the field. So you really have all the needed information to work with, I guess. So it's really something I'm doing on a daily basis. And from there, you can grab any ID, double click on it. It's the same, so it's not a good idea. But I can say, I can double click here and it will open the account the same way. And I can continue and take another ID and so on. It doesn't care. So it's very easy to navigate from record to record and see whatever information you're looking for.
Wow, that's super useful.
Yeah, and to be honest, this idea came to me because before Salesforce, I was working on another tool, another application, and we have a very small tool that was dedicated to do SQL queries. It was not SQL, but the idea was the same. And we have this option that was double click on any ID, and it was doing the calculation of all the values inside the record. So that's why I do the implementation within because I really need this on a daily basis. And the other thing you can do is you can grab any ID. So I'm not sure you can take an ID from here. I don't see them, but yeah, I can take it from here. So you can take an ID from here, just go back inside the tool and just Control M will do exactly the same. As long as you have it, you paste inside the memory of your computer an ID, you can do Control M and within the tool and it will give you the result. So you can do it from here, you can do it from outside of Salesforce and just go back on Salesforce on Calumet and just say, give me the information I want. So it's really something I use a lot. So that's what I was working on this. After I added the feature Salesforce I've added. So Salesforce from last release, they add those 4 new methods where you can say, I want all the fields, all the create field, all the created field, all the custom field, all the fields you can edit, all the field standards. So I've redone the method because I don't want to have any limitation. So here I just have 37 records, but even if I have 2,000 records, the tool does not care about the number of records. There is no limit to 200 that we have with Salesforce. So that's really something I really appreciate a lot because I need to do this on a daily basis. And the filter star query is just a way to say by default, if you do a select étoile from any record, the tool will remove any long text area by default because it's time consuming. And if you really need them, then you just uncheck the box. But by default, I prefer not to have them because sometimes it's very, very long to retrieve all the records if I keep this. So that was the mighty. And the other things I needed, it's more for people that are used to work with the tooling API. And that's my case. Something that you cannot do by default in Salesforce. If you try to do this in Salesforce, and I will do it, it will not work. So I can do it. And Salesforce will just yell on me because if I want to query some specific field in a tooling API, like full name, metadata, Salesforce will just tell me, if you want to do this, you should provide me the ID of one record. You don't have to retrieve more than one record at the same time. And for me, it's a nightmare because I'm used to work a lot with the tooling API. And I don't want to have this limitation because sometimes I don't know what I'm looking for. So what I've done is I just have to check this box. And now Calumet doesn't care about the limitation of Salesforce and it will do the retrieval for me. So this way I can really easily find what I'm looking for. So it's really something I'm used to do a lot first here and mainly in Calumet. I'm just overriding the limitation of Salesforce because I don't want to have them when I'm working on Calumet. So it's really something I was working on. And the last thing I've done is I've just added by default, if you just say where is deleted equal true, the tool will understand your query. You don't have to check any box to say I want to go for all query records. So if I just do this, the tool has understood my question, is already able to provide me the result without for me to check anything else. Like in Workbench, if I want to do this in Workbench, you have a checkbox to use to say I want to query all my records, I guess. And it's something I didn't want to do. So that's what the point of the redoing the SQL engine. And after I have abilities to extract the result as a Excel file or CSV file if I want to keep the result.
Wow, I was about to ask that if results could be saved.
Yeah, always. In fact, there is two. Either you do it from there when you have the abilities from there, but if I want, I can also do something like copy. I can just copy the line I want and paste them in an Excel file. But the best way is really most of my users are using this in order to do it because it's easier. And you can use the bulk mode if you want to run a query in bulk mode. It's something that I don't have to do, but in my team, my admin are used to do it on very big queries. So you can go for bulk mode and it will tell you how many bulk mode you can do for the day because there is a limitation. And the fast count is just, so I'm on production. Fast count is just, do it like this. So fast count is just a quick way to know. So if I do this in production, I know I will have a timeout. I have around 13 millions of records. So Salesforce will time out if I do this. But if I just do a fast count, it will just try to give me an average number of records. So it's just telling me if you run this query, you have around this number of records within the base. So it's up to me to know if I want to run the query or not, but it's just warning me that the number of records is this one. And that's why I have limitation here. If I try to run this query without it, it will warn me that if I continue, I'm about to query this number of records, and it just asks me if I'm sure I want to do it or not. So I don't have to wait for a timeout because my query is not filtered properly. Okay, so it's just a quick win I added inside the tool in order to to prevent me for going for queries when I'm not on the correct environment or when I know the query will be too long. Audit is just a quick access to the setup audit tray of Salesforce. So it's not very impressive, but the idea was, what I wanted was to be able to filter. So let's say I want to see if I want to see what someone has done, I can filter my audit tray very quickly. That's why I redone this screen. It's just because I'm using a lot the audit trail, and I need to be able to filter it very quickly. So the purpose of this screen is really for people used to work with the audit trail, but that really requires a quick way to filter the audit trail where we are looking for something specific inside the audit trail. Test class is what we use a lot in order to know where we are on a project. So test class is just, I can write it. So it's just giving me an overview of where I am regarding the coverage of my class. So in a glance, I can see where I am. I can go and say, I want just to see what's happening for my future deployment. So if it's just saying you are about to deploy only this class and your class is not yet covered, okay? And it's just reading the deploy from the deployment folder. So it's just reading this, and you have seen there is only one class here. So that's why it's just displaying one class here, okay? So it's very easy for me to see where I am regarding my deployment. And the other features I needed was to be able to know how is covered my class. So I've done a stupid example. And if I double click on this, it's just explaining me that my class is using this 5 class test that has no relation name for my class. So it's a nightmare to guess. And it's just telling me which class are covering the best my class. So it's just telling me the first one is covering your class for 57%. The second one will cover 28% more. The last one, 14%. And after it's not covering anything else. So it's just a way for me when to know if I want to grab all the test class during deployment or only what I need in order to get the 75% coverage during deployment. So we use this a lot in order to fasten our deployment in production. So that's the idea of this screen. And the helper is more or less the same. The idea is it's able to do a cache. So we are caching the coverage for a specific org in order to be able to use it in the future, because each time you are deploying a class in on an environment, you are losing the coverage. So sometimes you don't really know. So we use it a lot in production. So we use this a lot in production because we can just say, give me the, I'm about to deploy this class. I want to see how it is covered, and the tool will just give me the result. And as you can see in production, we can see that my class is covered, but not with a class name that corresponds to my class. So it's a nightmare to know which class is covering my class. So we use a lot this tool in order to find how a class is covered in production. Okay, so it's just a quick win. And the last thing we use, I use, my team does not use it a lot, is just the limits is just giving me a presentation of how my test class are going on. So for each test you are running is giving you some information on the number of query rows you have retrieved, the duration of the test, and things like this. So it's more like for people that are interested in performance issue for test or whatever. So not something you use on a daily basis, but it can help on specific project. Logs was one of the things I really hate in Salesforce because I really don't like the way they did it. So what I wanted is to be able to have all my logs here, whatever is the number. So I can have 29, I can have thousands of logs. They all will be, all the logs will be displayed here. And then I can filter my logs by name, by username, by duration. So I can look for logs that are going on for more than 100 milliseconds or for 1 second. So it's very easy for me to filter. And after, what I needed was 3 things. So the first one I wanted was to be able to quickly have access to the system debug, a bit like the one I have shown previously with the Apex execute anonymous. So by default, if I double click on the logs, I will just have the I just have the system debug deploy. Sorry, the system debug displayed. So that's what we have here. By default, is just grabbing the logs and just show me the debug logs. The second thing I really needed was to be able to track what's happening with the SOQL 101 issue, because we had a lot at the beginning of my project. So I added the features. So what is the tool is doing is reading the logs, doing the calculation of any queries that is finding, and telling me the number of time I'm running my query. So here I can see that I have one query that is run 44 times. And what I can see if I click on my query here is that 40 times I'm running my query from there and 4 times from there. So it's really something we use a lot in order to see when to track SOQL loop, SOQL in loop, sorry, because we had some SOQL in loop that were quite difficult to find. So it's easy to say there is a SOQL in loop like this. And the other one is able to tell me it's not a SOQL in loop, it's just that your trigger is triggered more than once. And each time you trigger, you are doing again the query. So we use a lot this tool in order to find why we have too many queries and to discover if we really have queries called too many times, or if it's just that we are really querying 90 or sometimes 100 queries that are different, and we have to completely rework the code. So that was really the idea of this screen. So it's really help us to understand what's happening when we have 101 issues. And the last thing I wanted was to be able to have another, I will go in production. Well, not on P5. So I will show you the last one. From here, it will be easier. Just need to connect, so don't know why. Okay, and the one I want is the worst one. So here, this one. So if I go for, so here we have a log that is taking a lot of time, which is a nightmare. And what I wanted to be able was to have an idea of what's going on within my process. So the analyst is really able to show me all the steps that I have been through during the code, during the logs, in fact. So it's giving me an overview of whatever I've done. So class that have been called, SOQL queries that have been executed, process builder if there was any. And for each step, I have the time it took. So I can easily filter and say, give me whatever operation that is lasting more than 1 second. So I can quickly see where there is issues. And sometimes that's how we discover that we have queries that are running for 30, 40 seconds, and we can try to figure out how to improve them. Sometimes we can discover that the code is doing too many processes, so it's taking a lot of time. So we use it a lot in order to understand first why we have a long running process. And the second thing we use a lot in this is just to track all the operation we are doing, in what orders they are done, and see we can really follow what the code is doing from there. So it's easier to read than going through the logs themselves. And it's working like the logs. So if I double click on any line, it will be open directly within VS Code on the line that has been triggered. So I can easily go back on the code and see where it's happening, why it's happening, things like this. So it's really all my logs are directly connected to the code. so I can grab them, directly open them in VS Code if I'm using VS Code. So it's really something I appreciate a lot when I'm working on a huge process that are very difficult to understand or to debug. Other thing I needed was to be able to write. When you work with Lightning Web Components, Salesforce is very nice with us. Instead of telling what you are calling, it's just telling you have a / aura, which is I don't know what to do with it. So what I just added was you have a small name, operation and display operation. So if you click here, it will replace the aura by the real name of the method you have called. So here I can really see what is behind the aura. So it's easier to read what's happening in my code. So it's something I really like because aura, I don't know which method is called. I don't know which log I have to open, and it's not very helping.
Totally.
Okay. And the last thing I've done, sorry, we do it. And the last thing I've done is the logs monitoring. So it's just a tail in real time. So you just say, I want to audit all the operation I'm doing within Salesforce. So it will open all the logs that will arrive for this user using this specific debug level. And he will track the information every 5 seconds. For example, I can say, then I can say the delay I want to check any new information. So for example, I can say start, and I will just open my PDF file, go back to, and I know that the PFI will open a Lightning Web Component that will open. So we are starting to see what's happening. And in and every 5 seconds is just looking for new logs and is opening the logs directly in system debug mode, so I can really track whatever I want and see. I don't have to open logs by logs in order to find the system debug I'm looking for. And the global filter is able to filter, so I can use it just to say I'm looking for LT, and it will just provide me the logs I want. So it's an easy way to monitor different logs in real time and try to figure out what's happening without to open one by one the log. So it's something my teams really appreciate, and me too, when we are working on Lightning Web Component, for example. And from there, you can, so I go back here. Oh, I can do it from there. And the last thing you can do from here, do it because I what I can say is, for example, I want to remove all the logs I have done. I can just say I filter on my own user. So I've got only my logs. I select all the logs, I say delete, and only these logs will be deleted. So it's a very easy way to clean the logs by criteria. So yeah, I just have an issue with the refreshing of this screen. I don't know why. But the idea is here, now I don't have anymore my logs, so I can clean very quickly my logs. And I have, here I know how much percent of the storage I'm using. So I'm far away from the 1 gigabyte that Salesforce let us use on production, on any sandbox or production. And those are things I wanted to have regarding the logs was the ability to easily audit user. So here I have the list of all the user that has already been tracked. In green is the user tracked and currently running. From there, I can modify the running. So I can say I want to update this log. So let's say I want to audit my user for 1 hour with Calumet debug. I just select this, select the time, just create update. And my log has been updated because I forget. It does. Wow. Okay. So I can easily change the user that is logged. So I can create a new one. So for example, I want to audit someone. I just select the user. I just choose the debug level, I just choose the time I want to audit him, and I just create a date, and my user will be audited for the time I want him to be audited. And the last thing I can say, I don't want to track anymore my user. I just go here, I just press delete, and my user won't be anymore tracked. So voilà. I can easily remove a tracked user without having to go through the debug log of Salesforce and edit everything, which is quite confusing for me. So I prefer to do it from there. And the last thing I've done very quickly is just a quick overview of SFDX. So here I have the list of all my org that SFDX CLI is able to process. Mm-hmm. And the only main features is I can rename any alias. So I can say I don't want to use anymore. So I can say I don't want to use trailhead anymore. I can say I want to call it trailhead demo, and I can rename an alias if I've done an issue. Or I can disconnect any orgs from here, and I can say I want to use any org as a dev hub or as a default user. So it's just a quick features, because I don't like to do it in command line, because I never remember which is the sequence. So for me, it's easier to go for a graphical and just say, make it my default username, or make it the default dev hub. So quick, it's very easy for me to do. So that's it. It's not very important, but it's just things I've done. After, for admin, what I've done was fixing a few issues I had, which is the pick list dependent. So a few months ago, we had our admins that come to us with a horrible pick list to be managed. Was I think we have 500 parent values and 300 child, and we have just looked the requirement and say we won't do it. It's too painless for us to do. So the idea was to say, why should we have to do it when our not our business can do it for us in a better way? So that's why I've just developed this quick feature. So here it will list for, I choose an object, it will list the different pick list dependency that there is for the object. And here it will do the extract, and it will give me all the child here in the first column. Here I have all the parent, and for each parent I can put whatever values I want. When it's bold, it means that the value is used. When it's not bold, it means the value is not used. And the main issue, the main interest of this is you can do an export. So you choose where you want to export it. So I just do export. I can open the file. So here's my file. And this is the file we gave to our business. We just told them, here is your file, do whatever you want, we don't care. So what the business has done, they say, for example, we want to have this value here, we don't want this value here, and so on. So we asked the business to do this. They just provide us the Excel file after. And what we have to do now is just go for import, take the file, so this one, just do import, and just wait a few seconds, and it's done. So the modification has been done, and this is the modification I have in my org. So I can go inside my org, and I will find, sorry, this one. And if I go on stock item, we'll see that the modification I've done are inside or stored directly in Salesforce. So it's really something that we earn a lot of time, because we knew that if we had to do this for Salesforce, we would have lost many hours to do it. And this way we don't have anything to do, and the business are very happy to be able to do it by themselves. And here I have the result, and if I go, I think, I don't know where is my modification, but the modification is somewhere. I think it's here. So the idea is it's a quick way to do it. And the other good news is what we discovered during this process is that if you want to remove some values from here, so let's say if I just say I want to exclude these 3 values, I can do it from here, save it. So it's working fine on this environment, but there is no way to retrieve the pick list dependent from this environment and push it on another environment. I raised the case on Salesforce and they told me and there is no way to do it currently. It's an issue. You can add new values, but you cannot remove values on the sandbox and push the removed values on another sandbox or even production.
Got it.
It's a nightmare. And we spend a lot of times on this because we were doing the modification on our environment where we were very happy. And we say to our people, okay, we have pushed the modification in production. And they were coming to us and no, but I still see this value. I said, it's not possible. We don't have it on the sandbox. We are pushing exactly. And we just discovered that adding values is permitted by Salesforce, but removing value is not permitted. I don't really know why. So that's, but the tool here is able to do it because what it's doing is during the import is destroying the relationship parent-child and is recreating the new one. So that's why I'm able to do it. But the metadata API, the tooling API is unable to remove values. So I have to cheat and to destroy the relationship and create it again.
Got it. Yeah. So sometimes there are just gaps in the metadata and in the APIs.
Yeah, but I discussed metadata tooling API SFDX. There is no way to do it. So just a good, I think it's good to know that when you have to remove values, you have to be careful and you have to do it manually. But so something when you are not careful about it, you push, you say it's okay. You are just checking that the new values are here, but the old values are not here. They are still here, but you won't see them. Only the business is able to see it when the parent dependency is too big. So it's at least good to know. So-called counter is just, so I go it in production. It's easier to see. So the so-called counter is able to do calculation that is not possible to be done by so-called. So for example, if I want to count all the case I have in Salesforce, most of the time it will just do a timeout. So what I'm doing when I'm going here is just explain this. I will break the query in by month. So he will create 69 queries, 1 by month, from the first case to the last one. And for each month, he will run my query, and after I can add whatever criteria I want. And if I do search, he will give me the result in more or less 1 minute. So whatever is the query, I never have any timeout with this. And it's just a way to sometimes we have queries, we don't really know how many records we could expect. And we are happy to have these features in order to have an average idea of the number of records regarding the filters we are trying to simulate. The login as, so I go back on my demo org. So login as is just as it says, it's an easy way to debug it, to login as someone. So I can I'm not on, okay, small bug. No, I'm not on. I still have this bug. Just is not switching to the author because I know which user I'm looking for. So,
the color just changed.
Okay, so that's it. I need to fix it. So I can say I want to log in as this user. I can say I want when I will log in as I want to audit my user for 1 hour, for example. So I just say debug my user for 1 hour, so I won't have to check and say audit my user. I can add my user as a favorite, so I will find it here. And the other point is what I will do when I will do the login as, it will be open in a private navigation. So I can keep my session as admin, and I will have a private navigation for the login as, so I can have 2 separate sessions open at the same time. So sorry, something I appreciate when I'm working on approval process, something like this, and I need to switch from one user to another one. It's quick to do it from here. So that's the main reason of this screen, because there is other way to do it. Profile is just a bit like the function we have seen at the beginning. It's just a way to see what modification has been done on the profile of an org. So I just say this, and it will just tell me whatever has been modified on the profile in a few seconds. And from there, I can select a few items and add them to my retrieve package or to my deploy package, because I want to deploy on another org the modification I have done on some profiles. So it's for my admins quite useful, because I used to modify a lot the right on objects or fields, and they don't have to do it manually. They can just do it on one org, come here, grab the modifications they have do, and then propagate the modification on full and production org very easily. So that's the reason of this screen. Formula to expand, I don't have a formula. It's just a way, if you have a long formula, you can type it here and it will try to put it in a more readable manner. So it's not something I'm using on the daily basis, so I'm not sure I will keep it, but it's existing for the moment. And the one feature we use a lot is this one, where you can test different, it's a quick way to test a lot of formula at the same time. So for example, I want to test on my object case the formula. So what you need to provide is the name of the field you want to use, the ID of the object you want to use for the test. Then you just say what is the result of your formula. And then I can put different, so I can say I want to test a stupid ID, but just to show. So I can say I want to test this formula, I want to test this formula. And the last one will be a formula it's a field that does not exist. So I just say here, I want to create the field, then destroy the field after the test, or I can say I just want to create the field and keep the field after the test, or whatever. So it's just a quick, so how people want to use it. I just click on the test, and it will give me the result. So I can see that my formula one will give me this result, this one will give me this result, and this one is not working because the field I'm asking is not existing. Okay. So it's just, I want to add more, because for the moment you can only test 3 formulas, but in the future I would like to be able to test 5, 10, how many formulas you want. You just push them here and you can check in one click all the results at the same time. So because I'm really not that good in formula, and sometimes I'm struggling to tweak my formula until it works. So I'm happy to be able to test it very quickly. The search option is just a quick way to be able to look within the metadata. So here is the list of metadata I'm able to process for the moment. So here I can say I want to look for the word test. I can say I want to look inside these 3 metadatas. I can say I want to look in the workflow field date, and I can say, let's say, for example, the mail template. And I will use this one. And I just click search. So the tool has already done the first one, because the 3 first one have been done with Social. So Social is able to provide me the answer in less than 5 seconds. And he's still searching for the 2 other one, because he has to retrieve the metadata and read each of them in order to see if the word I'm looking for is inside the metadata. So that's why this one is a bit more long. And when it will finish, it will just display to me all the records that are matching the criteria I've put here. And good news is, whatever is the component, if I want to see within my org the component, I just double click on the component, and the component will be directly open within Salesforce, so I can check, modify it, whatever. So it's an easy way to find any metadata that you have in mind. We are using this a lot when users are sending us the pop-up that is open in Salesforce telling them that they have reached validation rules, for example, and they don't know, we don't know where the validation rules is coming, so we just type the name that they have, so the label they have here, and it will give me the validation rules that are corresponding to my to his problem, so we can easily check where the validation rule is coming from. So that's the idea of this screen. For the workflow field update is also telling me which workflow rule is using the workflow field update, so I can really easily understand what object is involved. And email template, I have the email template that is behind. The dependency is just a quick way to see what is depending of what. So to be honest, I'm planning to replace it with Happy Soup. I think you know Happy Soup, so more or less I'm planning to add a link to Happy Soup because Pablo has done a very nice job. So I'm not planning to enhance this a lot, as he's doing a great job for me. And the last one is just list view is just a quick way to see all the list view I have for an object. So, and the query, so I've got my list view here. The query that Salesforce is executing behind each list view is here. And what I use sometimes is just use this one. So this one is a bit long, but the main interest is it will tell me how many records there is behind each queries. And sometimes you will discover that behind a list view, you have 200, 300,000 records, which means that the list view is not properly filtered. So it's just a way for us to say to our user, you have to review your list view, or it will not work the way you want it to work. So that's really the purpose of this simple screen.
Wow.
And but in production, we have a lot of list views that are not optimized. So we can already explain the user what is not optimized, or we can see the query and try to figure out if how we could help the user to improve his filtering. Should not have click search because I know it's a 1 minute process.
I had no clue you were able to obtain this so-called behind a list view, let alone that's how they were powered.
Yeah, it's the tooling API or the metadata API. I don't remember which one is able to do it, because it's really something I love with Salesforce. There is a lot of things I've discovered with by building the tool. I really discovered a lot of options I was not aware of because I was looking for something else. And I just realized that there is another way to do it.
I bet.
So I was very happy for this. So that's really why I love to work on the tool. Is I'm always learning new things because I want to do things that I think it's impossible to do. And at the end, I just discovered that it's just possible. You have to dig inside the documentation in depth.
Right. So you use Happy Soup?
Yeah, I love Happy Soup for dependency. It depends what I want to see. If I want to work on a specific field, I use Happy Soup, which is the best tool. If I just want to see dependency, most of the time I will do it from dependency because it's very fast for me to do it. It's less nice to see, but it's quicker. Happy Soup is very nice. The result is very nice to see. So that's really what I love with Happy Soup. And I'm not the kind to redo what others are doing. So if someone is already doing features, I don't want to redo it myself. Mm-hmm. There is no point to do it. I really prefer to focus on requirements that are not yet covered, that are difficult to cover. There is many of them I want to. I've got a lot of ideas of features I want to add to Calumet, but I'm missing time. Like one of the things I really want to do is to be able to extract all the metadata we have within Salesforce and to recreate all the metadata within a single custom object, so I can query them in the future. That's one of the ideas I have, and so query the metadata and add some fields, so I can already push the description, add some information that we are not able to do today. So I think that our project, like many projects, is not documented or very poorly documented. So I would like to have something where we can at least have a beginning of documentation. It won't be perfect, but I really would like to have a beginning of documentation. Would be really better. Okay, I will just open a new. It's longer than expected, so I will just. So let's go back. So up. So comparison is here you can compare profile. So depending of the org, it can be up to 5 minutes to do the first retrieval after everything is cached in local on the computer, so it's quicker. So and the result is here you will have a list of all the profile you have, and from there you can select 2, 3 profiles, and it will give you for the differences between your profiles. So it's very easy to see what is different between 2 profiles, to understand why your profiles are not working as expected. And in the future, I'm planning to do this exportable in Excel file, so that we can ask the business to have a look on the requirement, because we cannot do everything for them. So that's really the idea of this feature. And it's very fast. So what I really appreciate is you can easily track, let's say I want to see the difference on the field or on the object. It's very efficient for me. And the other thing I have is you can compare 2 records. So you can say I want to compare 2 records within the same org, or from production to full. So you just put your 2 ID here, say compare, and it will just display here the fields that are different. So sometimes we use it to track what's happening. What we are used to do, for example, is before we launch an update on a record, we just save the record, then update the record within Salesforce, and just do again the calculation and compare what was before, what was after, just to see what the update has modified on the record. Because sometimes it's very difficult to track all the modification. So it's the purpose of this simple screen. Okay, so if I cover, so well, here's the result, and here we can see that we have some list view that was already containing more than 10,000 records, which is quite a number for a simple list view. So it's quite it's really the type of things we try to audit with our user, to say try to optimize your queries. Maybe there is something fishy, or maybe we could try to help you in order to improve the list view display when you use it. And to finish, we have a few things. So limits, no, schedules is sorry, good production. Schedule is just a quick way to see what you have scheduled within your org. So it just gives you all the job schedule. It gives you the cron expression in a readable manner. So as my computer is in French, the cron expression is in French, but it's depending on the local of the computer. And I can see what class is behind the schedule. So it's very easy for me to track what's happening, what is scheduled within my org. And if I want to kill a schedule, I can just select one and click the kill schedule, and the schedule is killed and will not bother me anymore. So it's just a quick view on the scheduled class, or even a report if I want to see the report or notification. This is less useful for me, but Apex class is really what I like. Is I can quickly see what's happening. I can see that I've got schedule that will not run anymore, so it's good to know. that we could try to remove them or see why it's not scheduled to, why we don't schedule them again, what thing like this. Storage, it really depends on the projects. For us, the main issue is that if I go on the limit, we can see that we are already at 95% of our storage. And it's because we are doing a lot of dilation, but we hit the 105%, I think, of the storage a few weeks ago. So I really want to be able to monitor what's happening within the storage. So that's the purpose of this screen. So here you can ask the tool to do the extraction of all the objects you want. So it will try to grab all the objects you have here based on the creation date, and it will group the value by creation date in order to be able to provide me a graph that will look like this at the end. So the idea is giving me an overview of how my org is behaving regarding specific records. We have an overview of what's happening. Because if we don't have this, we are blind, especially because we don't have event monitoring. And I'm not even sure that event monitoring is able to provide information regarding this, in fact. So it's really something that we have to monitor at least on a weekly basis to see what's happening, try to figure out if we have an issue. And what we have discovered is that we have more and more cases, we have more and more case milestones. So we know that our storage will be has to be fixed in the future, or we won't be able to remain under the 100%. That's really the purpose of this screen. New fields is not sure it's useful for everyone. It has been done for one of my colleagues on my project that has a requirement to track any new field that is created on the org. So he can just select a date, and we will provide him a list of all the new fields that has been created. But it's really more for my colleagues than for any. I'm not sure I will leave it after. I know my colleague like it, so I will keep it for him. I'm not sure I will keep the function as a public function. And the last thing we use is the security. So security is just a way to understand how the security is done. So for example, I can say I want to understand what is my user right on a specific object. So I just say, give me what my user can do on this object. And the tool will do the calculation, and we just explain me why the user is able, for example, to read write this field or this field. So it just explains me that the user has the right because there is a permission set. Okay, or if it's a profile, it will just tell me it's a profile, but currently it's just a permission set that is giving in the right to view the and to write the field. Here it's the same. So here you can say, I want to understand, for example, somebody was stupid enough. It was me, but for purpose, I just have a permission set, but there is not a clearly named convention. So I don't know what my permission set is doing. So from there, I can say, explain me what the permission set is doing. And it will just tell me your permission set is give you ability on 2 records, on 2 objects. And it's modifying the rights on 2 objects. So it's just a quick overview. It's just a way to understand what is behind the permission set, as it's very difficult to add a permission set within Salesforce. And user is the same. So you can say, I want to audit my user. You can again select an object. And it will give you all the rights the user has. So my user has no system right. It just have the right to do this on this object because of permission set, not profile. And he has access to all these fields. So that's it. So that's what Calumet is. So it's really what we call a Swiss knife. It has not been designed to do something specific. It has really been designed to bring different functions to help people on a daily basis.
No, yeah, it really is a Swiss Army knife. It's it has a lot of features.
Yeah, but it's really the features I need for the moment. And after, if people have requirement, I will be more than happy to see if I can add the features inside the tool.
So I think what everybody is wondering is how would one get a hold of this?
That's the big question we have. Initially, I was planning to make it a free tool because the tool is done. I'm pretty happy of what it's doing. I discussed when I was almost ready to make it a free tool, I was discussing with consultants, and most of them told me not to do this because I won't be able to do the support of the tool myself. They told me if you do this, you will have too many support requirements and you will become crazy. So now we are trying to find a way to distribute the product at a minimum price because I don't want it to be too expensive. And I want it mainly to help people, in fact. So that's really the question we have. So currently we are planning to launch the public beta in September. So we are almost ready. We don't know, it will be beginning of September. I hope we will have the tool in public beta. So anybody will be able to download the tool with a free license that will be given for X days. I don't know. We will see how we do it. And after, it's a real question, what is the right price? So it will not be too expensive for users. And what is the right price so we can support it, enhance it, and add new features and things like this. Because I cannot do this alone. Even if I love to work on it, I spent already 2 years on the project in human days. I don't care about the time I spend on the tool, but I really want to be able to maintain it and to enhance it. And currently, I have only 12 people using it, I guess, so I can easily fix the issues they find or help them when there is a question. If I go for a public release, I won't be able to help everybody. So I'm trying to figure out what is the best way to do it.
Yeah, well, I would definitely be interested in being a part of that beta. And yeah, I would agree. This is a very, very impressive.
Yeah, it's far away from what I wanted to do at the beginning. I was really not planning to do something as huge at the beginning, but the more I work in it, the easier it becomes for me to add features. And the more I'm seeing requirement that seems quite difficult to do. And when you have the framework within Calumet, it's not that difficult to do. So I'm already planning to really try to add features that will help people in the future. So really my goal is to provide a tool that can really help people, in fact.
Hey, Fabrice,
Yeah.
This has been awesome. I love the tool. I'm sure both Orlando and Sebastian are going to be great resources for you for more feedback too. I just want to wrap stuff up so we can close down the recording.
Yeah, sure.
If you guys want to keep talking, that's great. But
No, but it's, yeah.
Want to say thank you. This has been awesome. I'm going to stop the recording. You guys can keep talking as soon as I do that.
Sure. My pleasure. And if you want me to redo the presentation in a few months, because there is people interested in, feel free to ask.
Sure. Maybe after the beta goes live.
Yeah, maybe first I will do the tooling presentation.
Right.
And after, why not going back to show people what you say. You have the tooling API, and from the tooling API, you can go and create things like Calumet.
All right.
But